Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er draft day video on their seventh round draft choice, their final pick overall, Jalen Graham from Purdue. Now, I've loved Jalen Graham for over a year as far as a prospect. I thought this was a great prospect. Niners selected him with their 38th pick in the seventh round, number 255 overall out of Purdue. And this is the modern day linebacker. He's undersized. He's a hybrid player. He registered 52 tackles, 5 tackles for loss. He had a sack, 5 passes defensed. He had an interception and a forced fumble through 9 games as a senior in 2022. Career-wise, 169 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 13 passes defensed, 3 interceptions, a touchdown, and 3 forced fumbles in his 4 collegiate seasons. I like this guy quite a bit. He's a 4-3 linebacker. He's a weak side linebacker, and he's a hybrid. He looks like a safety. If this player played in the 80s, he'd play safety, but today he plays linebacker. And forget the measurables. I mean, at the combine, he was 6'1 and 7/8, 220. He had a 40 time of 4.64, which is good. I mean, 4.64, a 4.6 linebacker that's not slow. Vertical jump of 30.5 inches, broad jump of 112 inches. He had 33-inch arms, hands that were 9 7/8 inches. They were projecting him as a day 3 pick, and sure enough, he went on day 3. He's a hybrid player. And Lance Zierlein from the NFL.com reports that Graham plays faster than he's likely to test thanks to his football instincts and his desire to get where the ball is going. He needs to get bigger and improve his technique when fitting the run, but he's very willing to take on blocks and play with aggression needed for the position. He's limited in man-to-man coverage, but he's an instinctive ball hawk when dropping into zone coverages. Graham has potential to compete as a backup will linebacker, and the upside still left. And he has upside still left to get better. So I personally, I think that's a great scouting report. This kid is an Indiana kid. He was a first-team All-Michigan honors in high school. He went to high school in Detroit, Cass Tech High School in Detroit, and this is a really, really underrated player, in my opinion. I think he plays much faster than his times. 4.64 is not a bad time, but he plays faster than that. And if you watched him, 169 total tackles over his career, 52 this year, 64 last year. 4 for loss this last year, 5 for loss this year. He has had 1 sack in each of the last 2 years, and he has 3 interceptions over the last 2 years. But what I like about him is, and I've liked about him since I've seen him in the last year or so, is just that this is a player that just has great instincts. So he's flowing towards the ball. You look at the way the linebacker position has changed. It used to be guys were 260 plus. They had the big Matt Millen neck roll, and they were just gigantic pluggers who took on guards, and that's not the way the game is anymore. Now you're playing in space. You got to break down in space against an athlete. And Graham was a converted defensive back, and you can kind of see it. He was a 3-star defensive back coming out of high school. And as a freshman at Purdue, he appeared in 11 games, 8 of those being starts. So that right there tells you that he was a pretty good player, starting 8 times as a freshman. His sophomore year, he took a step backward. He only appeared 5 games. As a junior, he got back on track and had a much better year. He appeared in 13 games, starting every game. He was named All Big Ten honorable mention by the Big Ten coaches and the Big Ten media. And he had 64 tackles, 45 of which were solo. 4 were tackles for a loss, and he had a sack. He also had 2 career picks his junior year and took 1 back for a touchdown, 7 PBUs, pass deflections. And then he ended his career this year. He played 9 games due to injury, finished second on the team with 52 tackles, 5 for loss, and a sack. So he had a pick 6 against Northwestern that was nullified when he was flagged for high stepping on his way to the end zone. And then he went to the combine, and he didn't have a great combine. But when you watch him on film, you can see he's an athletic linebacker. He breaks down well in space, and he's a fluid mover. He pursues, he flies around the ball. I think this is a guy who's going to compete for a roster spot. I really do. Now, he's undersized. He's not the most powerful guy. He's not a guy that you want to play on first and second down as a stacked backer. He's more of a hybrid player. He's a guy who's going to be able to play pass coverage. He's a guy who's going to have to make his name initially on special teams. But this guy's been a key cog in the Boilermaker defense for a number of years. And, the scouts pretty much have overlooked him for the most part. But when you see the athleticism and you see the instincts, he's scheme versatile. He's very effective in pass coverage. And now, with the game changing, a 6'1", 220-pound linebacker is absolutely, commonplace. Tony Pauline, my buddy who had the draft rankings all broken down, had him as a 6th-round pick, and he went in the 7th round. So he doesn't have great size, and it limits his resume for sure. And then he had an injury his senior year, and that limited his ability to improve. But he's a good football player. He absolutely is. And I've seen it over a couple different seasons. He's got great instincts. And to me, it's like, think about it logically. If you have 4.5 speed, 4.4 speed, you're cooking, but you have poor instincts, that just means you're further away from the play because you're running full bore, but you're running the wrong direction. I would much rather take a player who has great instincts, who processes what he sees, who reads and reacts what he sees accurately and properly, and is flowing in the right direction. I'd rather have that guy with a slowish 40 time than a guy who's with a burning 40 time, but he has terrible instincts. Graham's a football player. He knows how to play. There's no question that, you need young, productive football players to win in the NFL. I think he's going to be a nice little fit for the 49ers. They have cultivated a good group of linebackers. Many of these guys were college defensive backs. Fred Warner played a rover role. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles was a safety at the University of Arizona. Marcelino McCrary-Ball started at Indiana as a corner and then played the rest of his career at safety, and he's going to be a linebacker for the Niners this year. So the Niners are a little bit on the cutting edge with this. While the rest of the league, you'll still see some 4.7 linebackers. You'll still see some guys for 255, 260 playing linebacker. The 49ers almost exclusively now are going to, guys that need to be covered up by a big physical line. And that's what the Niners have. They have a big line with a lot of bodies up front, and they want guys who see it correctly, flow correctly, and are undersized and can break down in space against athletic players and are a little bit more versatile. This is where we're going as far as coverage in the NFL. It's become a rush and cover game. You get it done with your front 4 on the rush side, and you cover with 7 on the backside, and that means that your linebackers all have to be able to play pass coverage. And it's become not just like, hey, that's nice. It used to be like, hey, the guy can play pass coverage. That's a little bonus. Now you start there. You have to be able to play pass coverage. You got to be able to defend tight ends in open spaces. You got to be able to defend running backs out of the backfield. You got to be able to defend a wide receiver in open spaces. And then you got to break down in space against these athletes correctly and not allow them to burn you for big plays. And what I like the most about Graham, he's a little undersized, but he's got good numbers. 18 bench press reps is a great number. The 4.64 40 is hardly slow, but if you turn on the film, you'll see he plays much faster than that. So I think the Niners got a couple linebackers who can run with good instincts. They're both undersized, but I think both of them have a chance to make the roster. D. Winter from TCU was the first one, and Jalen Graham out of Purdue. But I had Jalen Graham circled, coming into this college football season as a guy that I really thought was kind of an underrated linebacker prospect because he's got those characteristics that teams like the 49ers are looking for. He's got good instincts. He's flowing to the ball. He's playing faster than he times. So I can't wait to see Jalen Graham this summer in camp and what he looks like. And I would say that, between Winters from TCU and Graham from Purdue, and the linebackers the Niners have coming back, the competition for that final roster spot at linebacker in the Niners camp this summer is going to be intense. And I can't wait to see Jalen Graham wearing the Niner uniform. All right, that does it for our Jalen Graham video. I really like this kid. Go check him out in his highlights on YouTube. Thanks for supporting The Krueger Show. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. And once again, thanks to all of you for supporting The Krueger Show on YouTube.